And as we're driving, Deb looks in the rear view and she's like, oh my gosh, she's chasing us.
It's like, hey y'all,
Welcome to the Huddle Hub.
I'm Deb.
And I'm Majestic. And in today's huddle, let's discuss what to know before you start clinicals, okay? But quickly, let's recap.
Yeah.
All right? So we briefly talked about in the last video that you would need a few things, okay? And these things most likely will be at your own cost. So that would be your background check, your immunization, and your tithers, your CPR card. A physical exam from your doctor. You have to be cleared because as we spoke before in the last video, something happened to someone that we know and it prevented them from going to the program. So also, we want you, as a word of advice, to check out your clinical site prior to your first day of clinical. And this is why. So we made the mistake of not doing that at one of our clinical sites. So we pull up to this clinical site. It's a big hospital, major hospital, well known. And as we pull up, we pass by the security guard shack. So we were just wondering, where do we park?
Yeah.
We just simply asked the question, where do we park? And this security guard lady was like, you can't park here. She was just like angry for no reason. So we were like, whoa. So Deb proceeds to drive through because our intentions was to turn around.
Yeah.
We weren't trying to park in the parking lot. Deb drives through, and as we're driving, Deb looks in the rear view and she's like, oh my gosh, she's chasing us.
It's like,
She came out of the guard shack. She's chasing behind the car, literally chasing us. So we say all of that to say, go and check out your clinical site so that you can avoid any issues.
so how to prepare the night before you start clinicals. So preparation is key to success. You don't want anything causing you to be late to clinicals. So these are a few tips that we recommend that we did. If you have a specific bag you're going to take, put all your things in there. Have your pens, your notebook, your pocket help books that you may have, like any labs or med surg books. Have your uniform ready out so you're not searching for it that morning of, or you realize, oh my goodness, it's dirty. It has a huge stain. So get your uniform nice and ironed, cleaned, or steamed. And then your compression socks, because these are long shifts, so we recommend you wear compression socks.
If you don't know what compression socks are, those are socks that kind of have like a tight fit and they help with circulation because a lot of people don't know what compression socks are.
I remember we had this one student, you could tell she had rough mornings because our scrubs were white.
Yes.
Okay? So it doesn't matter how thick they were. I think you could still see through those things.
Yes, they're white.
And there was good quality. But we would have this one classmate. She would literally arrive on the hospital and you could see her pajamas through them. And they were like these pattern, cartoony pajamas. It was so like
bad,
unprofessional, and like it was very distracting. You want to have your water ready, some snacks, any protein bars that you're gonna have.
Because you can't readily leave your clinical site. Oh, I'm hungry, let me go down to the cafeteria. Doesn't work that way. So you definitely want to have something that's quick, that's easy.
And this you don't have to have, but you can use bring a portable charger, those little mini ones. You're not supposed to use your phone on the unit, but if you're like using it like on your lunch break, or you want to do some, maybe your teacher might ask you to look up some information on the phone, like in the break room, to look up some medications or something. Do not stay up late the night before.
Yes.
Don't take stimulants or caffeine. You want to set your alarm the night before, and if you're like me, I set like 4 of them. So I set one if I have to wake up at 6, I'll set one up like at 5 because I need that time to snooze it.
Right.
So set all your alarms on. Make sure your volume is up loud so that you're not late.
I would say set the most obnoxious, annoying alarm on your phone because then you for sure will respond to it.
I think there was one time I forgot to set my alarm up and you were picking me up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I knock on the door. Her hair is everywhere. She's looking bewildered.
Yeah.
And it threw her into a frenzy.
Yes.
And I laughed the whole way through to clinical.
And then next thing is to mentally prepare yourself the night before. It's normal to feel anxious and nervous. So you want to mentally prepare yourself that okay, I got this. I'm going to go to clinicals tomorrow to learn, to grow, get out of your comfort zone. Just pump yourself up and do it that morning also, but just mentally prepare yourself for a long day, but a long day of learning.
First day of clinical. Usually you're going to have a hospital orientation. So some representative from the particular clinical site will probably come and speak with you, and you'll learn probably a little bit about the hospital. They'll give you the expectations because there's a lot of rules and regulations that you must follow. Your clinical instructor will reinforce these rules and regulations. Okay? Another thing, you might receive your hospital badges. So these are temporary. They're not a keepsake. And ooh, I went to this clinical, so I get to keep this.
Yeah.
No, they will take them from you because
Take
they
a
don't want
picture.
anybody. Yeah, this one. You know, and that's good. You take a picture for memories.
Yeah.
But they don't want you impersonating. You know, not
Yeah.
to say that you would, but they don't want anyone breaching their security. Also, too, you probably meet some of the staff who work there because you're going to be assigned to certain people, okay? So those staff members are going to want to know who you are, you know, get familiar with your personality, because usually these shifts are, you have some hospitals that are 8 hours, but a lot of these shifts are 12 hours.
Yeah.
So you're spending that much time with these staff. So then you get a tour of the unit or the facility, you know, just so that you can know where everything is. Sometimes your clinical instructor will assign you a scavenger hunt. So like you can find out where the med card is, you can find out where the linens are kept, you know, things that you would need throughout that day, and you will be able to have access to it because you already know where they are. Because it's nothing like running around looking for something. That's wasting time, you know, and time is always valuable in nursing. You may not get an assignment that day, a particular one that you'll be doing, but there's other little ancillary things they might ask you to do, like maybe checking a patient's blood sugar. Maybe they'll have you do vital signs or things like that. So you may not get a full, complete assignment, but there's something you will be doing. You won't just be standing around twiddling your fingers all day. So expect to do something. Don't say, oh, it's the first day, we're not going to be doing anything.
Yeah.
That's a big mistake. Another thing is that each facility might have different EHRs. Those are electronic health records, okay? That's the computer system that you use for patient information. You can retrieve labs, you can retrieve demographics, you know, everything related to that patient. But each facility, you know, has their own. So you might be familiar with Epic, let's say, because you worked at a certain facility, and then you go to another facility and it's like Meditech. Well, these are things that you're learning, okay? If you're a novice and you know nothing about nursing, this is probably all foreign language to you. But maybe you have a small background. Maybe you were a CNA or something like that, so you're familiar with it. So just know there are differences. And then if you work at a facility like mine, we're still on pen and paper. We don't have we do not have an electronic health record. We're straight up old school. I work for the state of California. We are pen and paper, no electronic health record. Okay.
Cheap.
So yes, there's some things that are still out there. So on a regular clinical day, you will have something that's called pre-conference. That is where your clinical instructor is going to gather you guys all together. You might have a room. The facility might be really nice and offer you a room. But if you don't, a lot of times we would go to the cafeteria if they had one at the facility where we were. And basically that's going to be your layout of the day, okay? Your clinical teacher is going to lay down the law, because they always do, as reminders, and then you'll get your assignment.
But sometimes it depends on your school. Sometimes they have the students go the day before, or sometimes they have the teacher goes the day before and has their assignment ready, and they'll give it to you during pre-conference.
And when we discuss these things, again, it's in relation to the program that we went to, okay? So be mindful that the information might be a little different depending on what school you decided to go to. So behavior and expectations. You are expected to be professional, okay? Your clinical instructor, they will not play any games when it comes to that. You are actually representing them. Any complaints, it goes right back to the clinical instructor.
Yeah, and represents the school too.
Exactly. So we want to maintain professional behavior. No PJs.
Yes.
Another thing is please be respectful. You need to be respectful to the staff that work there. You need to be respectful to the patients. If there is any conflict, what you would want to do is remove yourself from the area, and you would want to talk to your clinical instructor, because you always want your clinical instructor to be able to trust that you could remain respectful and professional. Please understand that the staff very busy. They can be very busy. They won't always have the time that you need and require, because they're working their real jobs.
Yeah.
We're learning, but they are working. So just, be compassionate that it's not always a personal thing, like, oh, we don't like you.
Yeah.
That's not always a personal. Even myself, I've gone through that as a nurse. It's not that I don't want to help you. I am busy. And the minute I get the opportunity to help someone, I do. I take the opportunity to do so. So don't take it personal.
Yeah.
You may end up working at that facility. So this is another reason why you should be very mindful, because the people that you're around, that you're learning from, they may even be your coworkers, the same as your. Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did.
So I think it was our third semester. I forget. We were on a med-surg unit, and it was a trauma center hospital, and I had no clue that I was going to apply for that position. That hospital when I first graduated. So when I applied, you don't find out what unit you're on. So I applied for a telemetry unit, and the day I had to do my interview, I found out it was the exact unit that we did our clinicals at, same manager, staff. So when I went to do my interview, they all remembered me, because I remember the last day we got all these goodie baskets, and I was in charge of putting them together, and the manager interviewed me and remembered me during clinicals. It wasn't even a real interview. She was just like talking to me. I got the job.
Yeah.
So, but it makes a difference, because you never know.
You never know. Your teacher, your instructor, your clinical instructor may give you your assignment that day. Our school, because again, we talk about our experiences, we would go the day before, and we would collect the data on the patient that we were going to be taking care of the following day, okay? Now, I will say this, that is not real life.
No.
You get report on the spot, and you do with the information what you do with it on that day, okay? Real life is on the spot. But when you're in school, you might be afforded the opportunity to go the previous day. So you go in the charts, you collect all the data, and it prepares you for the patient that you're going to take care of the following day, okay? You're going to look at things like their medical history, their medication, labs, and it's a really good jump start, you know, but that's for school, not reality.
Yeah. So during your shift, you're going to start now. You finish your pre-conference, and you're going to meet the nurse that you're going to follow and shadow. So the best way to start your day is to have good communication with the nurse that you're going to be assigned to. Introduce yourself. Tell them what you can and cannot do, because they don't know. They don't know how much you've learned. They don't know what semester. They don't know what you've practiced. So tell them, hi, I'm Deb. I'll be following you today. I can pass medications today. If your teacher told you that you were, say, I'll be passing the medications for, the morning. I just can't do it by myself. Or you could tell them that my teacher is going to be with me passing them. Say, I can do procedures as long as you're with me doing them. Let them know when the end of the day is going to be. Let them know when you're going to be at lunch. Don't disappear on them.
Do not disappear on them.
Don't just say, my lunch is at 12. But remind them, hey, I'm going to leave for lunch now. Just make sure you communicate with them and let them know.
That's common courtesy, professional courtesy.
Yeah, and just make sure you don't leave anything undone. If you tell them that you're going to give a medication, but you need to go to maybe break, make sure you finish the task first. And if you can't finish the task for some reason, then you communicate to the nurse that, hey, I wasn't able to do this if they were expecting you to do it. You really have to communicate with the staff and the nurse there. Be eager to learn. Let them know that you want to learn. Don't ever let them see you just sitting on your phone, which you shouldn't be doing.
Right.
You don't want to be just sitting there, because it just makes you look a certain way that you're not serious. You don't really find it important. But I've seen other students that they are, even if they have nothing to do, they'll go and ask other nurses, hey, do you need anything?
Exactly.
They'll ask the nursing assistant,
Right.
do you need help turning a patient?
Right.
Asking any staff if they need to help
Right.
with water and ice for all the patients that are able to take it. So be very proactive.
Right.
Don't just sit around, because
Right.
it does not look good on you. It does
No.
not represent the school well.
No.
Because you have to remember that you are also representing for the students that are going to be there for the future.
Exactly.
The hospital does not have to accept your school.
They do not. They
Yeah,
do not.
right?
And that's another thing, let me interject quickly. I'm on the other side of that now because I am currently in nursing education. So I'm on the other side and I get to see some things. And one of the things that you students, or if you're going into the program, or if you know somebody who's going into the program, I want to emphasize this, that sometimes it's difficult for your school to get a contract with these facilities. So your school want to keep that relationship, and they want to build a good relationship, because they may not always get in. Just because you were at this facility this semester, the organization itself may not either have the room to accommodate your school, or they, just don't want your school. So you got to be mindful of that just because you are there doesn't mean you're going to stay there. That school, your school in particular, it doesn't guarantee them a spot there. So you want to represent them well.
Make sure you ask questions. This is a good learning opportunity, right? But you want to be mindful and respectful of the nurse's time. If you have questions right away during a report, do not ask them and interrupt during the report. Wait, let them finish, observe, write your questions in your little notebook that you may have, or your paper in your clipboard, and let the nurse first finish the report. Give them time to get situated, to figure out what the plan is for the day. Let them talk to you about what's going to happen. And then when there's some downtime, or it's an appropriate time, then ask those questions. And if you don't have time, or that nurse doesn't have time, you can ask post-conference and ask your clinical instructor these questions that you have. When you're doing a task and you are forgetting a step, or you're struggling, don't try to figure it out on your own, because you're wasting time, and it's making the patient uncomfortable. They're going to lose trust and not want you as a student to be there. So ask the nurse for help, or your teacher if she's there. Oh, I forgot this step. Am I doing it right? You are a student, and people know that you are learning. So there will be times that you have a nurse that you can obviously see they don't want you there. So if you have a nurse that you can tell doesn't want you as a student, they're rude, they're making these comments, because you might have one that's like that, make sure you tell your teacher. You don't want that kind of experience. And so let your teacher know and let them handle it, because they can talk to the nurse manager on that spot to switch the assignment, or make sure that a student in the future doesn't get that same nurse. So communicate. Next is HIPAA. HIPAA is a law that protects patient information, and so that applies to you as a nursing student. Even if you're not a nurse yet, you sign this you sign a paperwork in the beginning that you're going to follow these certain rules, and HIPAA is going to be one of them. So when you are taking notes, when you're getting report, and if there's a patient name on there, do not take it home with you. Make sure you give it to either your instructor, or usually there is a patient shredder machine there. If you want to take it home, don't put the patient's name on there. Use abbreviations and the room number, but just be very careful with your paperwork and what you say.
There's a fine attached to it. Okay? And the fine is pretty hefty, and it's for each HIPAA violation, okay? And that's $25,000 for each violation. They don't do HIPAA as a whole, and you wouldn't want to inadvertently cause the hospital to have to pay a fine, because then that guarantees you're not coming back.
No. Another thing is social media. This wasn't really a big deal before.
Not when we were in school.
You have to be careful that in the background, there's nothing like patient's information, the hospital name. If you do decide to post, which I understand some people want to post about their journey, just be careful. So at the end of the day, when you're ready to go to post-conference, please remember to say bye. to your nurse. Don't you?
The way you said bye.
I mean, seriously. Don't just leave.
Bye.
Say bye. Oh, yeah, you're right. Don't do that. And don't forget the patient.
Yes.
Because some of the patients,
please
they
talk to
love
the
students.
patients.
Yeah.
They do.
They want the students
Yeah.
back.
Now we're going to go into post-conference, okay? Post-conference is where you gather once again with your clinical instructor, and now we're going to discuss the events of the day. So if there are any, questions or concerns, now is the time to discuss those things, okay? Your clinical instructor more than likely will do a round robin and ask everybody, some questions or whatever. The clinical instructor may even also have you do like a quick 10-minute presentation, okay? So be prepared for that, to discuss what you did, to discuss what you learned, to discuss what experience that you had, to discuss things that you may not have known that you learned that day. You might get your additional assignment maybe for the next day, because another thing, you don't always have the same patient. You might have gotten a plethora of information from this one particular patient and feel like, okay, I'm good. And then the next time you come, it's a totally different patient. So, in a nutshell, that is your first clinical experience. And we really hope that your first clinical experience is a beautiful one, okay? Yes. If it's not, we hope that you were prepared by what we've shared with you to where that anything that you can face, you've already been educated on it, okay? So,
thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe and
like this video, right? Share this video.
Yes.
Tell a friend, a family, whoever. And if you think this is helpful, please let us know down in the comments.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.